Hey, what's up, everybody? This video is for you if you're trying to price business tax returns and or bookkeeping and or payroll services. So that's what we're going to go through. I use a pricing calculator for these. I'm going to show you the pricing calculator. I'm going to walk through it. I'm also going to put a link down below in the notes where you can purchase this exact calculator, and you can either use it as is if you want to, or you can tweak it and change some things, which I do recommend. So I'm going to go through why it works for me, when and why it might not work for you. And then, of course, you can decide if you want to just watch the video and reverse engineer your own calculator, think that a calculator is stupid and just do whatever you want to do, or you can purchase this one and, again, like I said, use it as is or tweak it and change it to fit your exact situation. So I did a video on my 1040 tax prep calculator, and that one has been very popular. That's the reason why I decided to go ahead and show my business, bookkeeping, and payroll calculator as well, because there have been a lot of requests for that. It isn't quite as plug and play, I don't feel like, as my 1040 one. I'll link to the 1040 video and the 1040 prep calculator purchasing page down below. So again, there's a video and a way to purchase my calculator for 1040 tax prep as well. Same thing with that one. You can use it just like it is when you download it, or you can tweak it. You can also update the prices if mine are higher than you want yours to be, or if mine are lower than you want yours to be. There's a calculations page that you can tweak. That's the same thing on this particular business one too. So I think that's enough kind of prep and caveats here. Let's jump into the actual calculator. I'll walk through how I use it and then also ways that you can tweak it to make it work for you. If you have questions about it or anything else that you want to share, or other videos that you want to see, put those down below in the comments so that I can work on those videos for you. All right, let's jump into the calculator itself. It's very similar to my 1040 one if you have seen that. There's a new client data tab. Now, this is where I copy and paste information from my new client survey. That is not a tab that you're going to need, and you can just ignore that piece. So basically, if you want to use this or you want to just kind of walk through it, you just start on the intake tab. And what you would do is this tab, it does affect the calculations. Now, again, like I said, with my 1040 pricing calculator, it does all of the pricing. You'll see here that this intake form does the bookkeeping and payroll pricing. It does a little bit of help in pricing the tax prep for business returns, but not as much as the 1041 does. So we'll walk through that. But really what I use this intake form is, it's to standardize my new client appointments. So this is how I format my new client appointments. I go through these questions in this order. Some of them I skip over because, again, I have them fill out a new client survey ahead of time. And so I'll skip over things that I don't necessarily need more detail on. But most of the time, I'm confirming the answers and I'm going through these in order. So again, this is a way to really standardize your sales calls. And one of the ways to close more clients is to have a process that you are confident in and that you're consistent in, and where you can remember exactly the pieces that you want to ask them and the components that you want to share with them. And so that's what this does for me, basically. It not only allows me to price stuff and present things, it helps give me an outline for those discovery call new client appointments as well. So it has a bunch of benefits in my opinion. So basically, I go through these. I get their name, business name, their email, source, how they heard about me, the calendar year that these services would be for, and the tax return year. So I charge based on a calendar year. I charge the fees up front in January if they are a returning client, and I charge it at the time they engage with me if they're a new client. But this would be, say, for calendar year 2026 to prepare the 2025 tax return if they were to meet with me right now and they don't need anything until early next year to actually prepare the 2025 tax return. So that would be for tax prep. And all that does is it just changes the wording right here at the top of the presentation page when we're walking through the different levels of service and the pricing. It just says, hey, this fee covers the services provided during the 2026 calendar year. So that's all that changed there, and it's notes for me if I need to refer back to it on what they needed. I've got spots for notes and services here that they might want. A lot of this information, these zeros, it's where it's pulling in information that they've already given me through the new client survey. So that's just stuff that you can type over for yourself. But you can put notes here. A lot of times I'll type notes right here as I'm talking to them. I'll just start typing notes in these spaces. Of course, you can type anywhere over here. Take notes here too, right? If you run out of space, just start taking notes anywhere. You just want to make sure that you remember everything after that appointment. So industry, the industry is just, again, it's just for you. Start what year they started the business. That's for you as well. What state the business was formed in. Again, that's going to be for you. None of this is affecting the calculations at this point. How many states do you operate in? That does not affect the calculation either for anything. Now, you could change it where it does. You can go to the calculations page and you can update some of these calculations. You can add additional fees for a number of states. I would recommend you do that. The reason why I don't do that is I don't file business returns outside of a single state. So I mostly, 95% of my businesses are in the state of Florida. I have one or two in the state of North Carolina where I originally started practice and where I grew up, and I have one in South Carolina. But I really stick to Florida for business returns. I do individual returns in other states, but for businesses, I just stick to the state of Florida. So I don't have my pricing calculator priced based on number of states, simply because all of the ones that I do are a single state. You can put the number of owners in here. You can put yes or no if they already have an accountant. You can also put yes or no if they are interested in tax forecasting or tax planning. That also used to change the pricing, but it doesn't anymore based on how I have my 3 tiers set up. I used to also have a page where I could select if they wanted to pay the fees monthly or annually. I stopped doing monthly on tax prep because I didn't like if something happened during the year, I didn't want to have to prorate, or if they're like, hey, we want bookkeeping and planning and tax prep, and I did this monthly fee, and then they got halfway through the year. I had this happen one time where the guy was like, look, we just can't afford all that. We're going to start doing our bookkeeping ourselves, and we just want to stick with tax prep and don't even need the planning anymore, just because their business had been dwindling a little bit and they couldn't afford it all. And then I had to figure out of this monthly fee that they've been paying for 7 months, how much is already towards the tax prep. And I didn't really want to do that anymore. So annual services get paid annually, and monthly and quarterly services get paid monthly. So the bookkeeping and the payroll fee is a monthly fee, and the tax prep and tax planning strategy is an annual fee that they pay up front before I prepare the tax return each year. Number of forecast meetings per year. Again, this is something that I don't use anymore, so it just defaults to 1. But again, it's something that you could change this. If they wanted quarterly meetings, you could change that, and you could add on the calculations page an extra fee of whatever you wanted to do for that. And then that would be a way that you could update and tailor this to fit your specific needs. Now, are you a nonprofit? Yes or no? S Corp, Corp, partnership, multi-member, sole proprietor? Yes or no? So I pretty much only do S corporations, so that's why it already just defaults to that. I didn't have to choose that, but you can change this to no. You could change this to sole proprietor, LLC, single member, whatever you want to do there. If they're delinquent, how many years delinquent on their personal taxes? Usually I don't even answer those questions because most of the people coming in aren't delinquent. And then ongoing business taxes, do you want us to prepare those? That defaults to yes. Again, that's kind of going back to before it used to affect the calculation. It doesn't anymore. Now, this is when we get into the bookkeeping questions. The bookkeeping questions are going to affect calculations. So depending on what bookkeeping software they use, it's going to change the calculation for the bookkeeping. Now, when they're using QuickBooks Online, then that doesn't affect the price at all. But if they use something different than that, then I had it before where it was adding a fee to that. I think I took that away because, again, I actually stopped taking anyone who's not using QuickBooks Online, so I took that away. But what you could do is if QuickBooks Online is your preferred method and they want to use something different like Xero, then you could charge extra for that because it's not a software that you use regularly. Or you could just refuse to work with anyone who's not on your preferred software. But the other option would be, again, hey, they're on a different software. Let's add into the bookkeeping, software other than my preferred software. Add $50 a month or something. That's an option you can do for pricing. How messy are your books? So if they're, kind of middle ground messy, then that Oh, sorry. I know why it's not doing it. First, we have to tell it what kind of bookkeeping they want. So if they want us to do nothing, it's not going to price bookkeeping. If they want us to just review, basically look through their bookkeeping, it's going to reduce the price. If they want us to do bookkeeping, CFO Light, CFO Full, or if I'm going to outsource it to another bookkeeper, those are the choices there. And they all affect the pricing, and you can look through the calculations page to see how they affect it. But most frequently, if you're looking to price bookkeeping work that you're going to do, just stick it on the bookkeeping option, and then it's going to start figuring in the bookkeeping calculations. That still didn't change based on how messy their work was. I'm going to take a look at that in a minute. Do you reconcile your books or not? Yes or no? Yes, they say they do reconcile them. Are they current? If they are, you can leave this blank. If they're not, you can say, hey, we need to catch up on 4 months. We haven't done our bookkeeping in 4 months. We need to catch up on that. If behind, you want us to catch up? Yes. And what do you want help setting up your accounting software? Yes or no? If you say yes there, all right. And then do we do monthly bookkeeping already? No, we don't. Are we going to pay for the bookkeeping software? So that's if I'm going to pay for it and bake it in to their fee, or if they've already got QuickBooks Online, then I would say no here, but I'll say yes there for right now. Which product do they need? I usually default to the middle one. Put most people on that middle option is the best one for the majority of people. How many bank accounts? How many credit cards? How many loans does the business have? Do you have inventory or not? And are you required to issue financial statements? None of my clients are. I always say no there. And then I have them estimate the number of transactions. Now, you could always get access to their QuickBooks or their other accounting software to look at this. But usually I have them ballpark it here. And so, let's say they say they're 51 to 100. All right, so that's our bookkeeping section right there. You can take notes over here. But let's look at how that calculated our bookkeeping. So QuickBooks Plus added $69 for the cost of actually paying for bookkeeping because we're paying for it. And I just kind of add that in. If we're not paying for the software, I say no there. It's not going to add that $69 into the fee because they're already paying that themselves. I don't necessarily mark that up. I just have that listed in here where I make sure I capture that cost and just pass it through to the client in that case. Live flow reporting, it always defaults to charging for that. I don't have anyone using that right now, but it does default to just leaving that $30 in there. But you could always change this to just say, hey, if they want the reporting, or you could come in here and delete that if they don't want that. But that's like dashboard reporting and being able to put together custom financials for them. So that would be a higher level service that I would charge more for. Right now, that's just the cost of what LiveFlow would be. And actually, I don't even have access to that anymore. So I need to remove that for my own clients. Extra accounts. This is if they have bank accounts greater than, greater than 2 accounts. So that's going to count all of these. Checking accounts, credit card accounts, and loan accounts. It's going to count all of those. And if it's more than 2, so basically it would be a checking and a credit card would be kind of the standard. And if it's more than that, it's going to add $20 a month per extra account that we have to reconcile. Now, again, you might think that that's really low. Most of my clients, they have a checking account, maybe a credit card. So I'm not too concerned about that, but you can always change that right here. You can just say, hey, I want to charge $50 for extra account that we have to reconcile. You can update that in your template, and then it'll always be that. Do they have inventory or not? I don't take clients that have inventory. I would recommend that be more than $20 a month, probably, if you have to do anything with inventory. And then I have kind of the profit based on number of transactions. So this is really the main charge right here. If they have between 51 to 100 total transactions, now this would be across all 3 accounts. So I've already asked them how many accounts they have, but this is number of transactions across all of those accounts. So if it's 51 to 100, then I've got 350 in here. If it's 101 to 150, it's 450. Greater than 150 transactions a month, it's 550. And these are monthly fees right here. And so kind of you can see my base minimum is going to be, if you've got between 0 and 50 transactions a month, and you've only got 1 or 2 accounts that I have to reconcile, then my base fee is going to be that $350 a month. That's the minimum that I would do bookkeeping for. But as things go, that would be $250 a month. That's really low. I would make that higher. But again, that's going to be one one checking account with less than 50 transactions a month, 250 a month. I don't have anyone in that space right now. But again, you can set all these. If you want your minimum to be 350, if you want your minimum to be 500 a month, you set that right here. I'm also going to show you that I do 3-tiered services on bookkeeping too, so I'll show that to you in a minute. Do they have sales tax or not? I don't take clients where I have to file the sales tax reports for them. So the reason why this is only $25 a month is because that's in case they just want me to research a question for them. I bake in a monthly fee for, questions that they might have. They don't have many very often. Plus, I actually don't really take on many clients that do have sales tax. So it's not really an issue for me. Again, change that custom price, that kind of standard default price for yourself. Now, this also, depending on the amount of profit that they have, it will add in additional profit. And that comes into play right here. Your projected revenue over the next several months, let's say they say, hey, gross, we're going to be $1 million. And after expenses and everything, kind of our net benefit to ourselves, we're a $500,000 company. So $1 million gross revenue, benefit to the owner, W-2, owner distributions, whatever, $500,000 after expenses, then that's going to add in an extra $300 a month. Now, the reason for that is because the more that they make, we've got the number of transactions already, but also the more money that they have, the more opportunities that you have in order to talk to them about cash flow, in order to basically it's the more that they make, the more that the risk that there's more value out of that. There is a piece to that. And I think that the fees should go up for larger revenue clients. Now, if I had someone come in and they said, look, I'm a professional coach, right? I have a service-based business. I invoice a couple of clients every month. I have about 10 transactions a month, but I want you to handle the bookkeeping for me. I'm not going to throw in this extra $300 if it's that simple. I'm going to just kind of delete this number here, which will take that back out, or I'll hop over here and I'll delete that number. But I'm not gonna charge that. It's really just another way to kind of gauge complexity other than the number of transactions. They might have more balance sheet accounts too, which I haven't really asked about. I've only asked about bank accounts and credit cards and loans. I haven't necessarily asked about any other things that they're kind of keeping track of. That's something that, I'm going to get in the interview. I'm going to talk to them about kind of the full scope, and I'm going to use that. The calculator, it's not just 100% foolproof. You still have to kind of analyze, okay, what am I willing to do this work for? How much time do I think the client's going to be demanding of me? How many questions do I think they're going to have? And these are just other ways to kind of gauge that. If they have more revenue, they're probably going to get more value out of this service. It's all things that you can adjust and tweak while you're in the appointment if you think something's coming out incorrectly. But this just kind of gives you a starting place, and that's how I happen to use it. Now you can see here too, if they're bookkeeping, that is just, it's just that fee. If they're review or CFO light, it's either going to add or subtract. So that was here. Or if it's like, hey, they're going to do the bookkeeping themselves. They just want me to look it over, make sure that things are categorized correctly, make sure it's all done right. Well, that's going to change the calculation. It's going to subtract $365 out of the fee and reduce that monthly fee because I don't have to do all the reconciling. I don't have to do all the posting of transactions. And then if they want, CFO light or CFO full, then you would just basically have in your agreement what that means, right? That might mean something different to different providers. It might mean something different to me. For my clients, it might mean something a little, my sign-in popped up, might mean something a little different for you in terms of what you want to offer there, but it's just an option and you can change how much you add to the monthly fee for that. So let's go back to regular bookkeeping and the calculations. So it's calculated regular bookkeeping, 51 to 100 transactions a month with profit of $250,000 to $500,000 a year after expenses, and it's giving us this monthly fee of $700 a month. So if we hop over to my presentation page, the $700 a month that I calculated, that is kind of normal bookkeeping. That is posting transactions, reconciling accounts, providing quarterly. I said quarterly because I don't like to be tied to monthly during tax season. You can obviously do that however you want, if it's monthly or quarterly, and a quarterly dashboard with custom KPIs, which I was using LiveFlow for. There's another one, I think Fathom is the one that I'm going to replace LiveFlow with just because the cost is better and I don't have enough clients to justify the cost of LiveFlow. I do like LiveFlow though. but I'll be using Fathom moving forward for anyone who wants kind of this custom KPI and custom dashboard. So that's it. The reports, I mean, these can either be done through LiveFlow or Fathom, or just setting up a management report in QuickBooks and printing it out each month or each quarter, however frequently you want to do that. And then the dashboard and custom KPIs, you're going to either have to do that yourself in like Excel, or get something like LiveFlow or Fathom to do that with, and then connect the QuickBooks to that to get those reports. So it's going to price that $700 a month there. But then I give them kind of this compliant option. Look, if you don't really need the reporting, you don't need the dashboard or anything like that, and you just want me to post your transactions and reconcile your accounts, that's the compliant option, right? You just want to make sure that the bookkeeping is done right. You can hop into QuickBooks whenever you want and get your own reports. Or a lot of my clients, I only have 3 bookkeeping clients right now, and I'm trying to build that back up over the next couple of months this year, hopefully. I used to be at 10, and now I'm kind of down to 3 because I haven't really been focusing on it. But all of my clients right now are just on this compliant option where they really actually don't care about getting the reports from me. They just want to make sure that the bookkeeping is kept up to date and ready for when we need to run tax projections, or ready at tax time to be able to use that information for the tax return. So basically all that is, it's posting transactions and reconciling accounts, and it subtracts a small amount out of that, and just does a lower fee for that because I'm not providing the reports. And then on the strategic option, it's going to add an extra $350 a month if they want, insights based on the financials, and if they want meetings on a quarterly basis between me and them to talk through the finances. So this is not tax support. This isn't tax projections. This is more kind of that controller or CFO advisory type services, where it's like, hey, look, if you want my opinion on your financials, if you want to be able to run questions by me in terms of operating the business and the financial reports and improving the financials and things like that, again, kind of that CFO advisory, more business advisory side of things, it's going to add in that extra amount. We're going to meet, and I'm also going to give you kind of my insights and thoughts on your financials and where things are at. So those are the 3 levels of service for bookkeeping. That's how it's going to price it. You can change all of this. You can add additional things in here too. You can create your own worksheet and just do it kind of similar to what I've done it. But the main things that are going to go into there are frequency. Do they want it monthly or quarterly? You could add that as a drop down. Do you want monthly or quarterly books? How frequently do you want to meet with us? Do you want to meet with us? Do you just want the things posted and reconciled? Do you want financial reports? Do you want meetings? How many transactions do you have? How many accounts do we have to reconcile? Those are the things. Which level of QuickBooks do you need? Do you need the Plus? Do you need the Advanced? Do you need the Basic, Essentials? And are we going to pay for that? Is that going to be baked into our fee, or does the client already have that and they're paying that separately? So those are really the factors that kind of go into pricing bookkeeping. So that's how I would do it. Again, I don't run a bookkeeping business. This is stuff that I just kind of do a little bit of. I mean, ideally, I'd be between 5 and 10 clients that I'm doing bookkeeping for, and anything else I'm pretty much going to outsource to a bookkeeping company that I'm familiar with and that I know. But that's just kind of extra revenue that I use outside of tax season to ease tax season a little bit and to provide some work outside of tax season. So it's not really my focus. And that's why the pricing that I do for this is pretty simple. I mean, I'm also going to tell you, pricing, simplify it as much as you can. Don't make it super complex, because it's going to be a lot harder for you to be confident about it. It's going to be harder for you to deliver it. It's going to take you more time to figure out the pricing. Simplify it as much as you can. Don't go so simple that you're not charging, what you should be for the work that you're doing, but simplify it as much as you can. Don't make it overcomplicated. That's just not going to help you out much. All right, let's keep going. We're going to look at payroll, how I price that, and then we'll look at the actual tax prep pricing. So payroll, this is, I just asked, do you draw salaries and employees? So let's say that this is an S corporation. That's the majority of clients that I have. Yes, we're an S corporation. It's a single owner. I draw salaries and employee. Do you need help with payroll? Yes or no? Okay, if it says no, it's not going to price payroll, right? How many salaried employees do you have? We're going to say this is just a one owner S corp, and they're the only person on payroll. The frequency of payroll for clients like that, I often run that payroll monthly. And do you use a payroll company? No, because we're going to do it for them. And then I also ask if they have sales tax here. My clients don't. And if so, how many? This is how many states they need to file sales tax in. That's something that, again, you could build in a calculation for that as part of your bookkeeping and just add it to the bookkeeping piece if you need to do sales tax for clients. I don't, so that's why it's not a factor at this point. But if we go back over to calculations, this is the payroll section. So we've got the bookkeeping section, the tax prep, the cleanup section, and the payroll section. So the payroll section, this is based on my cost. I use ADP. That's what I use to do bookkeeping for clients that I have. I recently switched to them. Been happy with them too. Gusto I've used in the past. I've also used Payroll Relief in the past through Accountants World. But right now I'm using ADP. So this is kind of my cost. And then the profit that I add on top of my cost. So it's going to figure out my cost based on number of employees and frequency. So if they have 6 employees and they're running it biweekly, first of all, I wouldn't do that payroll. That's not payroll that I particularly take on. I really only take on S corporations with the owner and maybe another employer or two, and that I can run it monthly. So I don't really take on this biweekly payroll where they got to get me hours. I send them somewhere else for those. So this isn't a situation I would have, but the calculator will do that. So there's a per paycheck cost for number of employees. I also get charged kind of this either biweekly, monthly, or quarterly fee from ADP. And then because it's 4 to 6 employees, it adds $135 on top of the cost, and that would be $210 per month for me to run that payroll. But again, kind of a normal situation for me is it's the owner and we're running it monthly. So this is the minimum I charge for payroll. It's $150 a month. And basically my cost there is $53, and I've added $100 on top of that in profit, and it's rounded it down from $153 to $100, from $153 down to $150. So I'm running payroll monthly for an S corporation at $150 a month. And that is, again, my minimum. And that works well for me because that is, it's overseeing their payroll, so they get it off their shoulders. Payroll is not easy, and it's not something that clients like to deal with, and they don't know the answers to a lot of the questions revolving around payroll. So this is basically the fee for me to oversee it, make sure everything's being done right. ADP is doing the vast majority of this, and I tell the client that. I don't try to tell them I'm doing any more than what I actually am. The quarterly reports are filed. The annual reports are filed. Payroll is taken care of. You don't have to worry about it. We'll also make sure that, as part of this, reasonable compensation is reasonable, and we'll talk to you about that. And that's that minimum fee. So that would get added here into the bookkeeping piece. So if they want bookkeeping and payroll, I would show them this option right here, this 3-tiered proposal where, hey, here's the bookkeeping and the payroll option based on which level of service you want. Now, if they just want payroll, I don't show them this. I would just say, hey, payroll is going to be $150 a month or whatever it ends up coming out to. And I just communicate that to them because, as you can see, I don't do different tiers for payroll. It's just one, I take on very little types of payroll. I only take on one type really. And it's just going to be one fee if you want me to do it, or you can take it to Gusto or ADP yourself and pay whatever they're going to charge you if you want to do it on your own. But that's where payroll comes in. If it's bookkeeping and payroll, I kind of put it together here. And then that is all the questions that I ask. And then I go to the vast majority of clients, okay, maybe they don't need payroll. Maybe they don't need bookkeeping. They really just need tax prep. So with tax prep, I'm going to offer the same 3 levels of service that I offer with 1040 individual tax prep: compliant, proactive, and strategic. And this is doing the tax return, going over the tax return with them if they want me to. If they get a tax letter, if they get an IRS letter notice, then I will look at it. I'll tell them kind of why they got it, explain it to them, and then I'll tell them what they need to do to handle it. That's all that's included there. I explain that to them, and that's it for the compliant option. In the proactive option, they get year-round support. So if you have questions throughout the year, I'll give you advice on that, and impacts for minor changes. Hey, I think my income is going to be up $50,000. Okay, I'll ballpark what that's going to do to your taxes. And then a detailed return overview. And that's a summary report of just their tax situation for the year. In the strategic, that's when we add on the planning. So a planning and forecasting appointment. So we're going to forecast current year taxes. We're going to plan to get your taxes down. We're going to talk through strategy. We might look at the next year, the next 3 years. If you want to, we'll talk about the next decade or the next 2 decades, whatever you want. That's a forecasting and planning meeting. It's a 1-hour meeting that we do. And if you get an IRS notice, I'll actually respond to it for you. I'll take a look at it. I'll tell you what's going on. I'll tell you what the steps are, and then I'll reply on your behalf. And so that's, usually if they ask, I say, yeah, that's a reply or two, like a back and forth with the IRS to resolve the issue. If it's anything more than that, I'm going to refer you out to a tax attorney, or we're going to, have to discuss a different engagement to represent you, because it's more than a simple kind of solve this with a call or a letter to the IRS. So these are the fees. Now, the $3,600 fee that is right here, that is being calculated right here. My base minimum fee for tax prep compliance work for an S corporation is $1,850. Same thing for partnership or whatever. I mean, you could set different base fees based on the type of entity. So you could do an if-then statement, if S corp base fee is this, if partnership base fee is this, if you want to charge different base fees for that. But $1,850 is my minimum. And then because they have that extra profit, it's adding $1,750. Now, I don't necessarily always stick to this, but it's a trigger in my mind. Like, hey, look, there's more at risk here. There's more opportunity here. There's more value here because this is a bigger business. And so you should charge more for that. Now, if that isn't the case, if we don't have these two filled out, if there's nothing there or it's lower, it's not going to add that in. And my base fee is $1,850. It's going to add in $550. That's just a flat add-on for that middle service to do that year-round support. And then there's going to be just a flat add-on of another $1,200 to get the forecasting and planning appointment. So that's what I do for businesses. Now, most of the time, I don't let the calculator kind of figure out that most of my companies are S corporations. They're one owners. They're personal service-based entities. They don't file in multiple states. So I typically stick with this $1,850. I might come in here as I'm talking to the client. They've described kind of like what they've got going on. Maybe hopefully not an S corporation, but let's say it's a simple partnership. Husband and wife partnership where they do actually have to file a partnership tax return, and they've got 3 rental properties. Well, $1,850 is going to be my minimum for that return. But if they've got 3 rental properties as opposed to 1, I might come in here and say, okay, I'm going to bump that up to $2,250, or I'm going to bump that up to $2,500. So I'm just going to quickly adjust that on the fly, just based on what I've assessed of what's going on. And so as you can see, the pricing here is not as calculated based on the inputs as my 1040 calculator is. And I've mentioned that several times. This one is a little bit more manual, but it gives me the intake. It prices bookkeeping. It prices payroll. It will change the price based on profit for tax prep. And you can also add in anything else. I mean, if you're like, hey, I do mostly real estate investment partnerships, well, you could add in calculation here that says, hey, if the number of partners, for every partner, charge an extra $100. For every rental property, charge an extra $300. You could very easily just adapt that, put that in right here, throw those in to this column here, and it would do that for you. And this would just kind of be a template that you could start with and build upon in that situation. But these, again, the video hopefully here, even if, I don't care if you buy the calculator or not. If the calculator works for you, great. Or if you can buy it and tweak it, fine. Or if you can buy it, look through what I've did and then do your own, whatever. Or if you just want to watch this video to get ideas. It really doesn't matter. What I want is whatever's valuable to you. I'm just sharing what I've done so that you can think through what you want to do. If seeing what if seeing what I do makes you want to do something completely different and be like, I don't think that is a good idea at all, at least my video has helped you clarify and solidify what you want to do and what you don't want to do. So I still think that there's value there in seeing what other people are doing. So love it or hate it, leave it in the comments. Let me know, like, that's great. Buy the calculator. Brad, that's the stupidest thing I've ever seen. I can't believe that you're even in business pricing returns this way. Like, it doesn't make any sense. That's fine with me. Leave it in the comments. We're all just growing and learning. This is what I'm doing. It's working really well for me. I've got 45 business tax returns. I recently increased this fee drastically last year. I was doing some business returns in the $800 to $900 range under this compliant level. And I took all of them, minimum of $18.50, and most of them stayed on with me. A few left, but I also added new clients. My fees went up for business prep because of that. This over here is just motivation. This is what when I grabbed the screenshot, TurboTax was charging for full service, $17.50. So you can see I'm a little bit above that. But, I certainly don't think I would charge less than TurboTax for full service, because I guarantee you're going to be better than their full service, and you're the same person every year. No way you're getting the same person every year or throughout the year on this option. So that's just kind of motivation there. That's the only reason why it's over there. This fee right here, I haven't talked about this yet. This bookkeeping assistance, which says it's required. If I prepare a business tax return and I do not do the bookkeeping, I am going to require them to pay me to look through their books at tax time. $275 is the bare minimum. That is if they've got a basic set of books with minimal transactions and they're fairly clean. I'm going to charge $275 as the bare minimum on top of the $18.50. So really, my minimum fee for doing a S corporation or partnership tax return in the compliant option, my minimum fee is $2,125 at this point, because this $275 is required. I do not prepare tax returns if I don't go through the books and make sure that things are reconciled and look like they are right. I'm not doing an audit. I'm scrolling the general ledger. I'm tying out everything on the balance sheet. If you've got a loan, I want to see a loan document that shows me the balance at year end. If you've got a bank account, I want to see that you either reconciled it. I want to see the bank statement. I want to see that it was reconciled. I'm tying out the balance sheet, any kind of account there, and then I'm scrolling the general ledger to make sure it doesn't look like there's just a bunch of weird transactions in weird places. So that's what I'm doing. And again, bare minimum $275. And that's if maybe they already have their own bookkeeper. I don't care if they have their own bookkeeper. I'm still charging a minimum of $275 to go through it, because the bookkeeper is not a tax expert. The bookkeeper may also not even be an accounting expert. They may just have gotten trained on QuickBooks, Pro Advisor program. They may not even know what they're doing. Bookkeepers are all over the place, just like tax people are. And so I'm going to charge. Now, I might drop that if I find out, after this year, hey, things are pretty good. I might lower that. Or I might increase it if things were really bad and I didn't have a good idea of that. But generally speaking, most of these are somewhere between $500 to $1,000 for me. I've got some where this bookkeeping assistance piece is $2,000. I've got some where it's at $275, but the vast majority of them fall between $500 to $1,000. How do I figure that out? Figure that out based on the conversation that I've already had with them. I've already talked to them about what are they using. They're using QuickBooks Online. I can get access to that. I'm familiar with it. I know how to work in it efficiently. They've got, two accounts, a bank account, a checking account, and a credit card account. They've got no assets. It's a professional service-based business. Okay, I'm going to charge $500 for that if they don't already have their own bookkeeper and they're doing their own. Or they've got a couple of other things. I'm talking to them. I kind of realize that they're not really reconciling very frequently. I might bump that up to $1,000 or $1,250 or $1,500. So that's just all kind of based on conversation I've had with them. And I'm going to throw that in here. I'm going to talk to them about why I do that and why it's better for them that I do that than going to a tax preparer who doesn't do that and just uses their numbers that they provided, which are always wrong. There's not a client that comes to me that doesn't need some sort of adjustment in their books before I put those numbers on the tax return. Not a single one. And so I just explain that to them and tell them the value and the benefit of me doing that and requiring it and not letting them opt out of it. So that's how I price the bookkeeping. That's how I price payroll. That's how I price business tax returns. I only do S corporation tax returns. I don't take on partnership tax returns. The only partnership tax returns that I will take on are ones like I mentioned before. I just took one on recently. It's a husband and wife, 50-50 partnership, and they've got 2 rental properties. So those are the types of partnerships that I take on. I don't do any of these partnerships where they've got 100 partners in 30 different states and they've got, different profit percentages versus special depreciation. I don't do any partnerships like that. I stick to service-based S corporations, professional service providers, and very simple partnership tax returns. This is how I price them. Most of them are going to be kind of at that $18.50 plus a different fee. So most of the pricing that I change is going to be in that bookkeeping assistance line item. I will change the 1850 sometimes, but usually it stays put. And then I change that bookkeeping assistance number to kind of gauge, because that honestly, that's where the time is spent. I spend very little time putting information into the tax return and preparing the tax return. I spend most of the time in the bookkeeping, getting the books on a tax basis, reconciling those, making sure everything is done, putting adjusting journal entries in there, reclassifying transactions that are in wrong places, and getting the books right, so that then once those are right, I mean, it takes 10 minutes to type those numbers into the tax return. That's not where the time is spent. But of course, it's preparing the tax return to get the books right too. So again, base minimum fee, $18.50 plus the $275 for the bookkeeping assistance. I mostly adjust the price through the bookkeeping assistance, but I will take that $18.50 sometimes to $22.50 or $2,500. I've even taken it up to like $3,000 based on complexity of a tax return. And then the 3 different levels of service. So again, that's basic compliance, filing the return and answering any questions you have about that return. But if you want support throughout the year, or you want planning or strategy, you're going to have to upgrade to the other options. So again, in this particular situation, if you're a service-based business and you want the tax planning and everything, that's going to be $3,875. So that's another way to get your average fee up, is to offer this 3-tier proposal, and it lets people opt in. Some people are like, "Look, I just need my S corp return filed, and I don't know how to do it." Okay, well that's what that fee is going to be. But if you want the extra stuff, and you can change, of course, like, hey, for year-round support, I want to add in an extra $1,000. For that planning appointment, I want to add in an extra $2,500. That's fine. Just change that. Just change that in here if you want to, or when you're setting your own up. Put those fees whatever you want them to be. Change your minimum fee here to be $2,500. Change it to be $5,000. Change these, right? I mean, like, however you want to do it. Again, this is how I price business returns. Is it perfect? Absolutely not. Are there people doing it better than me? I guarantee you there's someone doing it better than me. But this is working for me. My firm, I mean, I have, gross revenue now of about $415,000. I don't know off the top of my head what the business piece of that is, but I'm definitely more 1040 returns than business returns. I have 375 1040 returns. I have about 45 business returns, but those business returns, again, I'm happy with the fees that I'm collecting for those. I recently increased that revenue, and kept the same number of business clients, and so. You just have to find what you're comfortable with. If you're comfortable with it, then it's fine. Don't worry if someone else tells you you're charging too little. Now, challenge yourself. Can you charge more? Are the services you're delivering worth more? Is there more value there? Is there higher demand for you because you've been doing this for several years? Are you willing to work for less to land a few clients in the early years? All that's fine, and you just have to figure that out for yourself. Seeing how other people do it is helpful. So don't just stop with this video. Go look at what Jason Statz is saying. Go look at what Logan Graff is saying. Go look at what Yuri Kapilovich is saying. Like, go look at what those other people are saying too, and then just figure out where you land. This is your firm. This is your firm. You need to do it your way. And so there you go. That's my encouragement. That's how I do it. It's going to help you. Even if you hate what I do, it's going to help you by seeing how someone else did it. So there you go. Leave comments down below. Let me know what other videos you want to see. Let me know if you have any questions about this. And like I said, I'll leave the link to purchase this if you want to. It's there. Also, if you want to see the video on my 1040 prep calculator, the link for that is there too, as well as how to purchase that one. And if you need any other things, just let me know. I'm here to share what I've done and to pay it forward and to help you either launch or grow or improve your tax firm. Thanks for watching.